Hello everyone. Right away I want to thank you for coming back to my channel for another video. Today we are talking about something that has helped me learn more, and it's for that reason that I want to share it with you. So right away I'm going to ask the question that I always ask, which I know the algorithm is just dying for me to get to, and that's, why do I think this video is worth your time? I think it's worth your time because, as corny as it might sound, I want to help you actualize your full potential, and I want to help you achieve your goals. And I think young people are done a serious disservice by not being taught about the benefits that keeping a commonplace book or even just a journal can offer us. So that's what this video is all about, why I think everyone should keep a commonplace book. And not only that, but why I think keeping a commonplace book can help us get closer to achieving our goals and actualizing our full potential. So right away I'll say that I teach one reading and writing intensive undergraduate course at Johns Hopkins per semester, and I say this to give you some idea of how passionate I am about the written word, which it sounds boring probably, and it is kind of boring, I guess, but my point is that I think writing is an incredibly powerful tool, and I want to communicate why I think it's so powerful because, you know, I'd imagine that at least if you're watching this video, you might be interested in commonplace books. And if you're interested in commonplace books, I think it's safe to say there's a decent bit of writing in front of you. So here's what I think, and this is what I tell my undergraduates. I think one of the best ways we can approach the idea of writing and the idea of keeping a commonplace book is to think about the act of writing as something deeper and more complicated than just putting words on a piece of paper, typing words in Google Docs or Microsoft Word or whatever. Me personally, I think of writing as a kind of spiritual act, which I know, I've said this a few times already. It might seem a bit strange or silly, whatever, but I think it's a seriously useful perspective to have. And I hope you'll bear with me, because I think that understanding writing as an act of creation, as something that's, spiritual and soul nourishing, I think it raises the stakes for keeping a commonplace book. And, that's what I want, because I think it might help you stay motivated, or, at least kind of consistently pay attention to your commonplace book. And that's what I want, because again, I do think it can help you. Understanding what the stakes are can help us conceptualize the potential far-reaching benefits that keeping a commonplace book can offer. Okay, so that being said, how is writing a spiritual act? Writing is a more sophisticated form of thinking. This is something I've talked about in other videos. It's an act of creation. Ideas, intangibilities are given form using the written word. Writing imposes a kind of order or logic on what is otherwise a stream of ideas flying through our heads in 1 second and gone the next, always moving. It's called a train of thought for a reason. So that's how I think about thinking and thoughts, very sophisticated and deep, yeah. We hear the term stream of consciousness and we might think, what does that actually mean? I think it closely approximates something like fishing ideas out of a stream and piecing together kind of the strongest parts in order to clearly articulate and communicate the idea at hand. And I think it turns out that doing that actually sharpens our thinking, which is something I always try getting across to my students. That's why I described writing as a more sophisticated form of thinking a minute ago. It isn't just thinking, it's thinking, yes, but it's also, it's a kind of multi-layered analytical act. And I guess now I'm kind of offering a semantic explanation for what exactly I mean when I say writing is a kind of spiritual act. That's how we get the ideas in our head onto paper, and when we do that, we create something. We literally put something on paper, yes, but we're also refining our thinking at the same time. And I think it's this communication between, physical, literal creation and kind of cognitive creation, or maybe another word for it is self-development, let's call it that, that highlights the spiritual nature of writing. So I think that when we write, there's something significant about the act itself, and that says nothing about the contents of a commonplace book. And make no mistake, the contents of a commonplace book are the primary reason for making one, for keeping one. I wanted to make this point about, the spiritually significant side of writing in order to, again, communicate the stakes of keeping a commonplace book and what I think it can offer you. Because the stakes, if we can, call them that, are important to understand when we consider the far-reaching benefits of keeping a commonplace book. So now let's talk about commonplace books. What's a commonplace book? It's a notebook with writing in it, writing that details the most interesting parts of kind of what we're learning, of the information that we come across during the day. What does this have to do with what I was just saying, with the idea of writing as a spiritual act or as an act of creation? A commonplace book is a notebook dedicated to synthesizing kind of every aspect of our learning, or at least kind of a multifaceted account or collection of kind of the materials or information that we're learning about. Whether we're reading books or watching YouTube videos or TV shows or scrolling through Wikipedia or TikTok, whatever medium we're using that can teach us something or show us something interesting, we can put everything that we find that kind of engages our attention from a multitude of different sources into a single place. And in this way, the information becomes unified. That doesn't sound all that serious, but that's why I started with the idea of writing as an act of creation. The value of creating a commonplace book, at least as I see it, is that it's a great way to optimize the time that we spend learning. Writing might almost always be a kind of self-generative and spiritual act. That's what I've been saying up to this point, but make no mistake, I'm not saying all writing is necessarily created equal. When we think about different kinds of writing, we have texting, we have like essay writing, we have letter writing, and it all kind of engages our attention and our brains differently. I'm talking about writing in the context of a commonplace book, creating and maintaining a commonplace book, which is to say compiling the most interesting ideas we encounter throughout the day, means a couple of things. The first is that we can reap the usual rewards that writing has to offer. We refine our thinking. Refining our thinking is one huge way that we can more effectively interact with the world around us. It's how we can kind of, fairly manipulate kind of reality as it unfolds itself before us so that the table flips or turns, maybe not flips, but turns in our favor. The second thing compiling the most kind of interesting bits of information we encounter throughout the day means is that we're effectively outsourcing the act of remembering to a notebook rather than our brain. And I think the simple act of documenting our thoughts and ideas gives us, it does give us immediate access in the future to information that we've filtered for interest. And I think that translates to deeper learning, to learning that lasts. I think everyone should keep a commonplace book, or at least those interested in building a learning habit, because doing so can foster the perfect breeding ground for new ideas and the establishment of, what would you say, like connections or connective tissue between ideas. And I think that ultimately leads to kind of a wider breadth of knowledge and like a deeper understanding of how you can conceptualize the world through some occupational lens, let's say. And I know that sounds kind of abstract and maybe a little lofty when I put it like that, but I'm sharing my honest experience with you. Keeping a commonplace book can offer us the opportunity to synthesize the most interesting bits of information that we encounter throughout the day. And if we can make the keeping of our commonplace book a habit, the short-term values compound like anything else. It's the kind of thing that, day after day after day, and kind of combing back through our commonplace book and reworking the ideas that interested us when we came across them. I think it does add up. It's kind of a personalized lesson plan, and the compounding effects are a kind of a deeper learning that's only achievable, in my opinion, through the careful attention that creating a commonplace book and maintaining a commonplace book requires. This brings me back to the idea of writing as a kind of spiritual action. When we write, we aren't just spelling out letters on a piece of paper. I mean, we're definitely doing that, but we're doing so much more. We're working with our hands. We're giving carefully controlled form to ideas, and with enough thoughtful attention, even if that only means 15 or 20 minutes of writing time per day, when we extend that across months, if not years, we can produce something that closely approximates for a work of art. I really believe that. It's a work of art that's specifically tailored to our interests, to our goals, to our future, what we hope maybe to give form to in the future, let's say that. And in this way, dedicating our time and our energy to keeping a commonplace book can help us optimize the time that we spend learning. And by optimizing the time that we spend learning across, an extended period of time, we gradually create ourselves anew. We can use writing as a tool that's spiritual, that verges on the religious insofar as its ability to develop us is concerned. So why do I think everyone should create a commonplace book? I think creating a commonplace book helps us optimize the time we spend learning, personally, professionally, academically, you name it. And in my experience, keeping a commonplace book, maintaining a commonplace book is a great way to kind of streamline the process of improvement and to kind of articulate the lens, let's say, through which you perceive the world. It's like taking all these bits of information and you boil it down and you collect it into a single notebook. And in that way, it functions as this kind of strange breeding ground for connective tissue between, a multiplicity of ideas. You might not see the connections in the way that you're able to when everything is kind of right in front of you and collected together. But okay, that is everything that I've got for this video. Before I go, I want to thank you, my wonderful viewer, for sticking with me to the end. If you found this video interesting or useful or helpful, I ask that you please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It really helps me out, and let me know what you think in the comment section down below. I'd love to chat with you about some of this stuff. Thanks again, everyone. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you next time.